Thank you to all members of the public, councillors and officers who are joining us for today's meeting. Councillors and officers are reminded of the commitment to the civility and respect pledge and to be mindful of this during the meeting. Please be aware that the council is video recording this meeting and this will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. I would just like to highlight some key points of the meeting format. Please can I ask everyone to have their phones turned off or set to silent. Please remain seated unless you're invited to speak or need to take a comfort break. The toilet facilities are out in the corridor you enter through. The fire exits are via the doors, out of the chambers and down the external fire escape stairs or via the main entrance that you enter through the building through. The assembly point is outside the Royal Mail Parcel Office on West Street. In the event of a fire, the lift should not be used. For those that require the lift, officers will guide you the correct process to exit the building. Members of the public are invited to participate in the meeting with the key points as follows. Public participation is limited to a maximum of 4 minutes per person. As chair, I will interject if needed to enforce this. When the public participation agenda item is introduced, please raise your hand to show your wish to speak and I will invite you to speak. If you are comfortable standing, please do so to ensure you can be heard across the room. I would ask that participants looking to leave the meeting wait until the end of an agenda item to limit distractions for other participants. Members of the public looking to leave the building will need to be escorted out by a council officer. If the meeting goes into confidential session, a short break will be held to allow members of the public to leave. To all present, please remember to show respect to others in the meeting and avoid interrupting where possible to enable others to follow the meeting. If any councillor feels concerned about any aspect of the meeting or discussion, please clearly state point of order. I will then gesture for you to elaborate. If anyone present is found to be behaving unacceptably, they can be ejected from the meeting by resolution. Thank you for listening. On behalf of the council, I'd like to thank everyone for attending today's meeting. Agenda item number 1, which is apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies for absence this evening. Councillor Meek for work commitments and is substituted by Councillor Ruffin.
Disclosure of interest. Oh, sorry. Oh, yes. So can I please ask that everyone approves or disapproves? So if we go for approves the reasons for absence, can I have a proposal? This is to approve the reasons for absence. Proposer is Councillor Walraven, a second of Councillor Mark Ware, and then Then we're on to agenda item number 2, which is disclosure of interest. To receive any disclosure by councillors of interest that they are aware of in relation to matters on the agenda, whether registered or not, and confirmation of any procedural steps they will take because of this. Councillors arriving late in the meeting will be asked to confirm if they have any interest to disclose at the point that they arrive. So does anyone have a disclosure of interests? I was just going to say that Councillor Honeyman and I are both members of Seaford Museum and History Society. Not as in particularly big, it's just... Okay. Number 3, public participation. To deal with any questions or brief representations from members of the public physically in the meeting room in accordance with relevant legislation and town council policy. The members of the public who would like to speak, this is your chance to speak. The lady in the dress would like to start.
Okay, my name's Lisa Filmer and I'm actually representing Miranda on behalf of the market. And can I just read out what she's asked me to?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so the purpose of Seaford Town Market was created to give small businesses a platform to launch, set up and grow, boosting the town. It draws vital footfall into Seaford, encouraging both locals and visitors to shop at the market and at our stores. The market acts as a giant advertisement for the entire town, promoting the beach and local shops alongside our own stalls. We operate a strict maximum of 28 stalls This is the absolute limit of what we can physically fit into Church Street when it is clear of parked cars. The reality of running it is that they are a constant logistics. It is one of the trickiest businesses to organise. Our team is out every Monday putting up road signs, banners, signs and running extensive social media, newspaper and what's on campaigns. The chaos of cancellations in a typical week involves endless moving parts. For example, we booked 27 stalls on Thursday, the gin stall cancels, Thursday afternoon a craft stall cancels, Friday the venison trader runs out of stock and pulls out. Then 2 more cancels due to illness, Saturday at 7 AM, another trader cancels due to a bad night's sleep. The result is we constantly have to redraw plans around abandoned cars and last minute gaps. Then a member of public complains on Facebook that there is insufficient variety. With bricks and mortar shops, the stock is physically available, ready for purchase and does not unexpectedly become unavailable or get cancelled. The human cost of forcing the market to endure this survey for a second consecutive year is taking a severe and mental toll on Miranda. It causes unfair pressure and is incredibly draining to face total uncertainty, wondering if a project built entirely for the benefit of the community and local traders will even be allowed to continue. No other business models is subjected to this kind of scrutiny and pressure, and are requested for the market to be allowed to grow and continue supporting Seaford. However, it is impossible to plan for the future when the ground is constantly shifting. We would very much appreciate clarity, stability and the Council's full backing to move forward.
This is about the market again. Unfortunately, I've left my notes at home. It's a typical man thing, so please bear with me if I add to it. Reading the survey, it looks as if there's a really positive attitude towards having the market here by a lot of people. Also noticed that not that many of businesses have actually made any comments at all, good or bad. So I'm presuming, the presumption is a bad thing sometimes, I'm presuming that because they don't mention about the market at all, that everything seems to be fine. On one of the questions, or on the review itself, it says about people want more catering outlets on the stores. Now, which is a great idea because then that brings more people around the stores and mixes with other traders. The only slight downside of that is that, unfortunately, there are a couple of businesses that don't agree with any catering outlets at all. And they've made themselves known, should we say, nothing in verbally, but in actually their presence, as in staring at traders, which actually has pulled one of the traders off because she's felt very uncomfortable about it. So I'm just wondering how the council is able to police that type of thing. I'm not sure how, but I'll leave that with you. Also, the competitive clause, that's obviously still in place at the moment, and I hope that continues with that, because if that competitive clause is put back in, then that's basically going to close down the market. So, yeah. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tracy Lee. So, going on what my fellow traders have been saying, and I've read with great interest what has been going on, and the town is diminishing sadly, and we are losing shops, and they are going at a rate of knots at the moment. With not very many new businesses being able to come in, and whatever that's about, whether it's business rates or rental or whatever. So having a town market that again, I will say, and we all know, it happens twice a month. So on those other days that this certain person, like most of the issues that come from, surely, I'll go back to what I said in the original meeting that we had. We need the stability of our businesses, if you like. But it's not just about coming and selling what we sell, it's also about the market community itself. Some of us don't manage to get out very well and every day, and therefore that puts a big problem, or it presents a big problem for people who need to socialise, whether it's through mental health, whether it's through getting tips and tricks and all the rest of it. So the market isn't just about going out and making a little bit of money, it's about a community. Now, Seaford Town has a community, and yet there is 1 or 2 or 3 people that are trying to put a kibosh on that. And, you know, as Andrew said, I stood there while this certain person has been standing there and has made it evidently known that they are standing there. And the huffs and puffs and cries and moans can be heard literally halfway down the market. Now, if we're trying to bring outsiders, our visitors, into Seaford, direct them down to the beach, so, you know, their monetary values go down there too, and also keeping the market, we always, and I don't know where this is getting mixed, but we always lead them into the town. If they've come up from the beach and they don't know the town very well, we direct them into the town, because we are a community and we are all out to do the same thing. Unfortunately, the favoured few, you know, they're trying to get in the mix in that. And, you know, as Lisa said, Miranda is going through a lot, the market stallholders are going through a lot because of the uncertainty. Is this going to keep happening and happening and happening? When you think of the size of this town already and the few complaints that have been held, surely that says something about the people wanting to have this market, or they've stayed silent, in which case, you know, it's yes or no. But they've had their opportunities to come and talk and address them to the council, and they've not done that. We're here representing, you know, our friends, our family, because that's what we are. If we could have, or the council could be considerate in not having this issue every year, with the uncertainty of knowing whether we're going to have a market or not, that obviously would be great for us, it would be great for Miranda. And I just want the council to be aware of that and how they can help us to move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would anyone else in the public like to speak? I have here on the agenda, the councillors who arrive late in the meeting be asked to confirm if there's any interest to disclose at the point that they arrive. Okay, no, it's only if you've got any disclosure of interests. That's one. Okay, thank you. Right, so then we're on to agenda item number 4.
No, it's nothing wrong. It's not something 4. Number 5 is 4.
Must be missing.
It's agenda item number 5. So it's agenda item number 5 is to update the committee on progress and actions relating to the town council's assets and facilities. Mr. Cousins.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything really to add to this report, but myself and Sharon welcome any questions.
Councillor Rowland.
Yes, someone else coming to the highways meeting, bus shelters came up. and I deal with one. But I think there's 4. Where are they? Please.
We have got a list, so can we circulate that to
Yes,
us? My understanding is that it's covered. So yeah, so let's double check.
Yes.
Make sure that we've got the right stocks.
Yes, I know it was trying to find out for that meeting because we had used bus shelters on the agenda, so just double checking.
Yeah.
What that was. It'd be nice to know.
We'll get you the list.
Lovely, thank you.
Councillor Dunn apparently knows where the...
No, I can't hear very well
Oh, sorry.
with the fan. It's quite noisy over here, so if we could all speak up a little bit because this is quite noisy in this corner, so I didn't really catch. Sorry,
Did you get the gist?
No, I didn't. Couldn't hear it at all. Sorry.
Do you want to stop the plane?
No, that's fine.
I asked how many bus shelters we own. I thought it was called Pounding Supply.
Okay.
And where are they?
Right, yeah.
So there's going to be a list circulated.
Yeah, because I heard Canning Highway, so
Yeah.
yeah, fine, lovely.
Thank you.
Would you like Councillor Gisco?
Thank you very much, Chair. I read this with a lot of interest, especially 2 sections. One about section 16 about the sponsorship of the promotion of sign by executive roads and station approach, and also the street furniture, especially bins. I don't know about other councillors and officers, but I've certainly had quite a lot of communications about the bins and been in touch with the town clerk about it. I note on 18.2 it says that officers will provide a verbal update on the situation at the meeting. I'm kind of just having a bit of a joined up thought in that I wonder whether we could have a reporting button on our website, a bit like LBC and other councils do, where if you see a problem with a bin, you can actually just go to the website and say and make the report and click on which bin it is perhaps, or even just what 3 words address, so that it's easy and you can direct residents to do that, because at the moment, quite rightly, I mean, it's all on Facebook and so on, but I'm just wondering whether that message is always getting through. And thinking about the sponsorship of the boat, which didn't receive any responses, one thing I've often harped on about, and I appreciate a lot of the staff that are newer than when I came in, was the fact that when people come into Seaford, be it along the seafront or on the A259 through the town, we have a welcome to Seaford sign, twinned with Bowledge Deck fine. What we don't sort of have is, for example, when you go to certain other towns and they say, this is a nice, clean, tidy place kind of thing. They have something which sets the tone. And I wonder whether we could have something which would then, I know there's a later agenda item on signage, but something which points to a QR code, but some message, key message that comes at Seaford, which is friendly and nice and encouraging, but basically says, this town is loved, let's keep it nice for everyone and let's tidy up kind of thing. This is the expectation that's set, and I wonder if that key message could somehow come through, both in terms of the comms at the bins, and perhaps using any otherwise unused spaces for giving messages. Self-evolved.
Okay. Yeah, happy to respond on that. So specifically on the bins, yes, an update on where we are. So a week into the contract, as we put the big bellies in place, it became very apparent that the contractor who had signed the agreement was unable to fulfil this. When I approached him and said, are you going to be able to sort this out as a regular, reliable service? And he basically said, no, we're not. So officers have had to work very quickly. When we initially looked at the bins, these were the only contractors we could find who were able to actually do the emptying of these specific bins. We spoke to Lewis District Council and they have agreed now to take on the big belly bins and also the salt bins. However, they did not immediately have the staff available, and are kind of coping, and the staff that they have are doing overtime to try to cover it. So they are looking to rectify this, and they are looking to give new contracts, and they're looking for a weekend contract and things like that. But it's a sort of a bear with us for the moment, whilst North District get up to speed on what it is. We are additionally looking at other options as well, working with North District, potentially having some Euro bins in certain places, and also working with an additional provider who might be able to offer an additional emptying on the days on the weekends as well. Because currently, North District can only offer one empty on the weekends during the day. We've got another potential supplier, and they would also be happy to do a little bit in the clearance of any excess ones as well. I can assure you that officers are spending a vast amount of time in this and trying to get this sorted as soon as we possibly can with this. So that's where we are with the business company. On the boat board, I welcome a conversation with you about any ideas you have, and then maybe we can look moving over to signage base, in which case we could look at this part of the signage project we're doing, whether it's something if you want to make a strategic plan in the future or something like that. And for reporting, yes, this is something which we were intending to roll out in the future anyway. So you also notice on the report we talk about the new civically system that we're now using, the asset management system. As part of that system, what we can do is add QR codes to all of our assets, which immediately allows somebody to report an issue with them. And I think with everything going on, it might be that we look to release the bins forward and get that done soon. We have also numbered all the Seaford bins as well to make it easier for the project.
I think Alex will offer you, could you remember? Then it's Councillor.
Oh, thank you, Julie. Yeah, I just wanted to endorse what Councillor Bristow said about this welcome sign. So I know we're talking about signage later, but just interestingly, I was at the chamber this morning, chamber breakfast with Councillor Rutland, and one of the things that people are saying to us is that it's not clear what our vision of Seaford is. You know, we've got a strategy, we know what it is to be doing, but when you come into Seaford physically, it's not clear about what we feel about Seaford or what we're trying to sell about Seaford. And so I really like the idea of, you know, and it's back to that message of please take your rubbish home. But it's kind of, in a positive message, it's please help to keep us tidy and a good community and things like that. And there are lots of lovely examples around the country for that. So just, you know, I could have said it in the signage, but I just wanted to immediately endorse what you were saying, so I've just popped it in there.
Councillor Dunn was next. Councillor Arby after.
Thank you, Dave.
If you were able to.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. So a bit long-winded for me this evening. I'll stick with bins, that's page 12. The salts. The bins don't seem to have been emptied in the salts for some reason, and it's come up on social media, plus residents of sort of what's happening privately.
Yes, it was reported to us. I haven't quite got to the bottom of why, but it was
that is
relatively small.
That is LDC, isn't it?
It is LDC, which, what do you?
So what happened, where we had the change of contractors,
I wondered
they
if
were
that was
asked to
the
start
issue.
from a certain date, because that's when the old contractor was going to run up to, but they finished earlier. So LDC couldn't start earlier, so
that was
a little bit of a glitch in between.
Lovely.
They were empty this morning.
Yeah.
Smashing. Right, okay, thank you. Right, we have page 7, 3.2, the Westview Seasonal Beach Huts. I did rent one in June, and I'm sorry to say I have reported this, but I thought I'd mention it as it was on the agenda. The toilets that after the beach hut users, because you get the key, sorry to say they were in a dreadfully poor state. There's no toilet paper, there's no water. It's pitch black in there, and the door, I got locked in. I did have a bit of a wonder how I was going to get out, because I forgot to take my mobile in to see, because once you go into the beach hut and then into the toilet, it suddenly goes pitch black. So, and I did get, and I was banging on the door, and I'm thinking someone's going to have a go, so but whatever. So, could that be double checked for moving forward for the next lot of beat up users?
Yes, I know you mentioned logging into me.
Yeah.
I believe I mentioned it also hasn't been to bed. I will check that against it.
That's brilliant, thank you, because that was a bit of a concern with that one. Right, what else was there? We've done the bins. Regarding this is page 13, the view, quite a lot of costs occurring at the view. 20.4, further investigations are required in relation to the boiler and modification to the underfloor heating system. Has this been budgeted, or is this going to go the same way as the lift? Have we not got the budget for this?
This one, there is a repairs and maintenance budget for that area anyway. We're currently within budget, and we're awaiting the final price.
Right.
I think there has been a few surprises thrown in at the review for stuff that we weren't aware of.
Yeah.
There's also some follow-up conversations with the tenant, within there around the sharing responsibilities and stuff like this as well.
Right, lovely, thank you. Changing glasses, so I think that's all. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We agreed at the last council meeting that we would contribute £10,000 towards a visitor strategy, and that hasn't come in yet, so I'm reluctant to agree any further spending until such time as that comes in, and that relates to bins. Emptying bins, provision of bins, size of bins, additional empties is all a burden on 25,000 people. I don't know how many of those actually pay council tax, but it's the council taxpayers' burden. At what point did he say how many bins is enough? How many emptying bins is enough? How many signs is enough? We have no idea. Are you just going to carry on spending and allowing this continuous problem to carry on? It's a burden for staff, it's a burden for visitors and also councillors. We keep having to look at this over and over again. What can we do to come up with something where we can all agree enough is enough? What is that magic number and we stick to it? Stop adding the burden onto Seaford Town residents. Where is Seaford Town Council going with getting money from our council tax that's paid directly to Lewis and to East Sussex, getting them to contribute towards some of this problem? Because we're having to pay as residents for the world to come here and visit this lovely town that's getting more and more rubber by the very nature of its popularity. I would also like to make note that QR codes can be fraudulent. A lot of people are taking them over, so I would be wary of that. And in terms of the salts being emptied, they were actually emptied around 4 o'clock today.
I suppose at the moment we've got budgets for the bin emptying. Budgets currently. I would say with Lewis District, obviously the bins that are on our land we are emptying, but in the other bins in the Lewis District, in Seaford, are emptied by Lewis District, so part of our council tax, the Lewis District is going into the bin emptying as well. I would say that there have been exceptions for a couple of weeks and have
I think for the first time with the big belly bins we're getting dates where it might be useful to the capacity and everything else that's happened, and so after the trial we will actually have some numbers of feels of how long it's taken in particular spaces, so there can be some decent analysis of the volume of litter and rubbish we're dealing with. What it doesn't address is the litter that's outside of that, because obviously we have the capacity to scope that. And I think finally there's just a fine balance between what is on what we have budgeted for and the expectations of those and others as to how we manage that process. And this is a trial, and I think at the end of that trial, we should have the opportunity to review the information that is there in front of us to make a permanent decision. And I think at that stage of data, of information, we would be able to have a strategy and a better way of working going forward. That I think gives us a position we can budget for, we can talk in next year's budgets about, and we have data that supports this. It kind of just underlines all of that information to make one final decision on how we go forward.
As it's done,
So we talked about putting some of those on a few of those big blue bins, and you decided last time not to put the blue bins in because
talk through the term?
oh sorry. To not use the blue bins because it attracts the rubbish from the camper vans and fly tipping, and so you're not getting. If you put those in, are you going to have clean data from the point of those going in, and then how are you going to be able to distinguish the trial if you can start putting the big blue bins in?
So those, my understanding is, those would be locked bins, which when we are collecting and sets, those would be bins. That's the stuff that's overflowing next to it. And the other contractor,
And that's the initial knowledge of trade.
we'd be able to monitor how we so we already get data on how much waste is being collected from the Seaford, which last week when it was a stage.
So there's still no strategy. But I haven't answered the question. How many is enough? How many bins
I
is
think
enough?
this is what the trial is for, so we will go after the trial.
So we're in the trial stage now, which is what the officers have said. So we've got to gather some data, and as Darryl said, we've got to gather this data at this moment in time. So that we can't really, I think the gist is we can't really give you the straight answer. Thank you. Next was Councillor Honeyman.
Thank you, Chair. A couple of things what Councillor Bristow was saying. So basically, there should be a motto for this town, and there is one. I don't know what it is, because it's never really used by anyone here, as far as an officer-wise or otherwise. It was done. It was been formatted in the previous town clerks. The current town clerk. I'm not criticising the current town clerk, but I don't think the current SMT don't really want to use it, or it's been dropped. I don't know. So that's one question. If it's been quietly dropped, but it should basically, well, like I said, be used on various material, promotion material. I don't know if the 25 years of Seaford Town Council, that was a stage where maybe it got dropped after that, it didn't really come back. So that's one issue to do with mottos and everything. The other issue, which I can see the Councillor Bristol was trying to say, the boat, I don't think it's a named boat as far as I know, but on any asset we have, we don't put our own Seaford Town Council and the motto there, which we could. I think we do some of the more our part, but we don't really, it's never really very clear about what our motto is. And finally, well, we can't really do it on the entrance signs, we're able to do county signs anyway with the county logo and the crest. Sorry? Yeah, but the markets. You can't put that's their sign, but I have seen when you go to some villages around the county, East Sussex, so that might be a bit different than West Sussex, you sometimes do see an additional sign and then with the village logo and also a bit more additional. So there's several questions here which I think Councillor Bristow was trying to... Oh, did I mention about... Everyone's heard historically keep written tidy, haven't they? There's not a keep Seaford tidy. I mean, that's a classic local motto which could be adapted if it's over the keeping the place clean. That's never really been discussed either. So there's various... I don't know if that's what Councillor Bristow was intending to sort of elaborate on, but I think I've sort of picked up several things she said and tried to elaborate it forward. So I'd like to see what to say.
So obviously there is a clear strategic plan that all councils have been involved in and what we're currently working through. Yeah. That is due for review, to be honest, with the summer period. So my suggestion would be, if we feel that is the appropriate way to go forward with something that we would like, is that we use the updated strategic plans or anything like that and place that in there so it can be worked towards rather than it becomes an addition to the existing strategic plan. That's it's comfortable. Right. So that's actually come to a collective agreement on that.
Thank you. Right, I'm just going to take questions for those who haven't answered her questions yet. So actually, Councillor Matthews was next.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm going to ask my question.
Yeah.
My question was about the changing places facilities, because I went past on Monday and I noticed that they were shut again. So, I don't know what the latest is that they're shut for.
So we had our repairs. We've also had all the equipment in there now checked. So it has to be checked every 6 months. So we're very gently so we are checking the tag on the unit. And now we are double checking the fault that is coming up from the emergency call grid.
Does anyone else want to ask a question who hasn't asked a question? Okay, Councillor Bristow.
Thanks, Chancellor Dodgy. I'm kind of coming back and building a little bit on Councillor Dubas's point, and I can hear your frustration and sentiment in terms of how much things cost, but I would remind that in a previous meeting, in a previous agenda pack, we were told that the LDC haven't actually charged us for the FT on the Seaford for quite some time. So in terms of other councils taking, I should be supposed to declare that I'm an LDC councillor here, but that's a standard thing. But so the district has been contributing in kind for some time in that way. But my main point was circling back to the fact that it's a trial and getting feedback and assessing the trial. It's obviously quite a fast-moving trial with a lot of troubleshooting that officers are doing and so on. But I don't think this point came up in the initial discussions that we had. Is have we or can we engage with litter picking groups, for example, the Seaford litter pickers, the plastic free Seaford to do their deep clean and friends of tide mills, and see if we can canvass them perhaps on a, monthly basis, which is when they tend to meet during this phase of the trial, to see whether they're noticing anything different in their litter picks, and they do tend to record a lot of their results, and see if that information can feed in to help us assess the effectiveness of the bins as well, because obviously they operate not just on the promenade but down on the beach as well. And I've heard from some residents that because some of the bin locations have changed, when you're down on the beach you sort of expect to come up to a certain bin and it's not there, and then it might be longer to get to one. So I just wondered, that as a point, hopefully a useful one to follow up. And then another thing about signage and littering and bins and so on, we've obviously got our signage along the promenade, which is multi-council, multi-agency. But actually, East Sussex County Council and Highways can put up no littering signs on the sides of certain highways. So I wonder if there's anything that they could do from the perspective of advising drivers, like no littering here and that kind of thing, along the seafront as well. Again, it's a small point, but perhaps one which could be explored.
Yes, I think it would be useful to reach out to the litter pickers and see if they have seen any difference. And we are looking at some kind of school signage to encourage people to leave things next to the bin if it is school, which I think will help a lot. But I can send off an email to East Sussex and see if it's something they can do.
Councillor Dunn, then I think we'll just make that the last question.
Yes, sorry. It's a follow-on from the changing places. I did again ask this question once before. Is there any way we can ever get a breakdown of the usage of the changing places? Because it's done nothing but give us an headache. And it would be really, really good to know how many people actually do use that facility. That would what I would really appreciate if I could have that.
So we don't have any specific way of counting people in and out of it, or how many usages. The only data we can have is how many times it has to be cleaned. So they were only cleaned when it had been used. which gives us an idea.
Oh, right.
Of course, on those days, you have a lot of people through there, overall, it's using can that data, so you can see how many days it's been using.
And one other question, in Martello Cafe, there was an issue with the shutters. Was that just a maintenance issue, or is it at a cost to us as a council? Or is it because it was badly put in, or was it... It's a bit of an unusual, for me, my husband's a builder, it's a bit of an unusual one, so I just wondered if there was any cost involved in repairing it.
Yeah, there's going to be some
changing
cost. Yeah, there's going to be some cost involved in repairing. They had some material that was stuck up inside of the shutter, so where you're trying to close them, that it's all got stuck and the mechanism to be put back together.
Right, okay, all right, thank you. That's it. Yeah.
Final question.
Yes, just clarify what you said about changing places. You said you can only tell how many times it's been used by how many times it's been cleaned. And the cleaner's ongoing when it's being used, but how do you know when it's being used?
Well, they go in, and if it's been used, then it'll be clean. If it hasn't been used,
How do you know? If someone goes in and leaves it clean,
well, if it's absolutely spotless, I suppose they probably would. But they would look in the bins and things like that. They have a quick inspection. If it looks like something's been in there,
Okay, thank you. Right, I'm going to not take more questions now. We've had a good discussion on this. So the officer's recommendation is to note the contents of the report. And I have the proposal, please. Councillor Rutland, seconded Councillor Dunn, and then all in favour.
Council 7 forward, there's the visitors when you're not here for that answer, not answer. And we don't have to sit through those drawings. For that answer.
I would second that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was over in a second.
Yeah.
Will you be happy to remark your agenda item forward?
Yes.
Thank you.
And then
Yes.
you can leave if you need to.
Right, agenda item number 7, which is to present the results of the 2026 consultation on the Seaford Street Market and seek direction on the issuing of a future street market licence.
Thank you to the officers and everyone who's back on this. The response we got on the market survey, I'm told, was one of the highest, if not the highest. It is the highest response rate we've ever had with which I think is really positive. We've got so much engagement on this one, and also I think there's a clear considerable support that we show for the street market. There are some challenges as well. But we welcome any questions.
I think this market is such a tremendous asset to this town. Obviously, having had the strength of support that we've had from this survey, I think that bears that out. The fact that there's been one person who's not really happy about competition, no business has the right to have no competition at all. There should not be any element of restricting or competing clauses in their licence at all. I think that's doing the market of the service, doing the town of the service. And if that resident actually thought about it in a different way, all these people are now outside his cafe, they're all considered people that could come in if he wasn't doing so obstructive. So now, I would wholeheartedly endorse their renewal, and I would actually say maybe we should make it longer than just the next 2 or 3 years, so they've got some strength of tenure, and without any restrictions on them, that they have a positive asset and deserve to be supported.
Councillor Bass.
I know you say that it's a big response, but you know it's less than 500 people, and it's a bit disappointing that that's the best we've had. from the consultation. It's less than 2% of the population, but I appreciate how people feel it's a worthwhile cause. I couldn't see anywhere in here where it said how much a stall costs to rent and how many times a month it happened and how many businesses from Seaford rent stalls. Is that information available, please?
I don't, but I'm not the market organiser, so that is something we would need to
I
request.
can answer that question if you want me
Sorry,
to. Sorry. Okay, that's fine.
So we can request the information and give that back through to the committee, but we're not the organisers of that street market. We just provide the licence for the street
Point of order, Chair. Obviously, we have somebody from the market here who can directly answer that question immediately, and we are considering that information now. So it is pertinent to what we are discussing. But can we suspend standing orders to allow them to respond?
Maybe what we'll do, if we have the discussion first, if we have a few questions that we feel we need to ask, rather than keep suspending standing orders.
Fair enough, we would do that here.
That would be a way around it,
So you can
rather than keep stop starting.
Yeah, no, good idea.
Yeah,
Fair point.
suddenly just thought, otherwise we're going to...
No, fair point. I can get that.
Okay, thanks. We need to write the questions down. Okay, Councillor Dunn was next.
Thank you. I completely support the market anyway. Always have done, coming from London. I actually worked in the market, East Street Market, probably one of the famous ones in London. What I was, just a few questions, is at, where it says, sorry, 4.3, page 46 and 47, it says there were majority of views very positive, but although with a notable minority expressing concerns, and it also raises key concerns at 4.8. Are they basically the same raised concerns that we've been given the list of? Yeah, okay, that's what I wondered. The other thing was 4.5 on page 47. Can you elaborate? This demonstrates clear overall support for issuing a licence, although with a visible and significant level of opposition. Is that in relation to what the residents and public have raised regarding some individuals are not happy for this market? Is that, could you be more specific on that? And I completely agree with the consultation fatigue. If they don't see results, you get a bit, another consultation, but where's it going? So, yes, so thank you.
So my understanding is that question was specifically about, do you support the council issuing a new licence and a continuing licence for the street market and to have the support of the street market. So I don't think that there's any, I don't think that one, but I have to check in later, there's any kind of qualitative stuff. It's just kind of, do you want to do a licence or do you want
Okay. Yeah, right, okay, thank you.
Councillor Bristol.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I read this with a great deal of interest, having had various concerns expressed of were we going to stop the market altogether. So thank goodness we can say that's not on the table. A lot of people use the market, myself included. I really enjoy going there because there are new offerings that aren't in the town centre already, although we're blessed with a great number of shops in the town centre. I think probably people would agree that the diversity and the range of what's on offer is less than what it used to be, probably because of various market forces and rents and so on. And I do know that at least 2 local businesses who, you know, wound down in some different reasons, now use the market, and people can still come back and use their services, albeit on a less frequent basis. The church opens and has an open time when the market's on as well, which I go into for you know, it's a nice social opportunity. So I think this is great, but I was really interested to read the bit about advertising and the fact that a lot of people, or various respondents said, oh, it's not known about enough. Anecdotally, I would say, yeah, I mean, there are quite a few people who I speak to and say, oh, there's a market on, when's that? I used to live very close to the town centre and I would always know when it's on. I've now moved to a different part of town and I certainly don't know when it's always on if it wasn't sort of ingrained in my head. I wonder whose responsibility the advertising is. Is it solely organisers or can the town council help? I also kind of noticed that, for example, seeing that comes through the door, I don't recall seeing adverts for the market in there. And I just wonder whether there's something we can do as a sort of more joined up way to promote the market, but also to promote the businesses in the town centre. Obviously, we've got reps who are organising the Chamber of Commerce, so perhaps it's straying into your territory slightly. So, but yeah, I mean, it'd be great if more people knew about it and that sort of cross-fertilisation of custom could be promoted in a positive way.
Councillor Matthews.
Thank you, Chair. I want to thank the marketing community for speaking to us tonight. I was quite concerned here about the intimidation and experience of stores, and I was just wondering whether there's scope to raise that with our community police officer. Intimidation, your work in your daily life, so you should feel threatened in doing so. People wouldn't tolerate it in other lines of work as well, should be. I suppose the other question I was going to ask was around the licence, along with Councillor Rutland's position really, is there any way that we can extend that? Is there any reason why it is 2 years? And if there is, can we extend that to what, 4 or 5 years? The licensing period. So is there any way? Is there a reason why it's 3 years?
The proposal amendment is reduced.
I suppose I was watching the question like, is there a reason why it's 3 years? Could it be if needed and if it could be extended?
I can just the only reason it is 3 years is just to be in line with our concessions, so we can do the market concession. Bradbury's known that obviously there's a concession working group who's been looking at all this stuff, and they will come back with their recommendations. But if you wanted to make them any years, then we'll see what we can go.
I'll see if there's any reason. It might be worth saving it for the working group, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing in terms of the line. I wouldn't want it to be treated as unfair because it's one different.
That's what I understand.
So I think in terms of consistency, there's no good time.
I think. So thinking about like, it's the market is kind of the several traders, aren't they, going to be considered as one, whereas other concessions are just one. Do you see what I mean?
It's a licence and it's in the same way that we treat those concessions. So I think in terms of consequences, it would probably need to be the same.
Well, that's what I was going to ask the question.
Councillor Richardson.
Thank you, Chair. Probably following on what Councillor Matthews actually saying there, in the sense of how often do officers periodically review, go down and have a look. I'd expect a handful a year, to be honest. So if it's on for 20 times a year, for the sake of argument, I expect someone maybe to go down every couple of months or so. Irregular. I mean, it'll be. I don't know if that happens, but I think it should. That's how I see it. Like any licence, it needs to be looked at and reviewed, and what we call an issue. I think officers should really go down and have a look. They're not all not doing so. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm going to go next. I was just going to say, having visited the market when I was the mayor, so that's a while ago, unfortunately it all seems to be on my work weekends, because I have to work every week. I normally do see the posters up and the banners up, saying about when the market's on. It is around quite a lot. And I know the atmosphere, when I did come visit, It's a really good atmosphere, and it's a really good community, and about how everyone looks out for each other, and that is a really nice thing. And I'm really glad that we took that bit where you can, because there's no way you can have one thing at the market, but sorry, it's in the town, but we can't sell it at the market, which is why I'm also glad that would take it as well. So, because you just can't, I won't mention anything because you can buy things off the internet. Quite easily buy it off the internet. So yes, I think that the market's done really well. It's just always been a really good atmosphere, and everyone works really hard to do it. And anything that helps bring more people to Seaford is a benefit. Right, Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to build on such a lot of lovely discussion. I just want to say that I also think the intimidation is absolutely unacceptable. And I'm thinking completely out of the box here. But, and there's always a cost to everything, so I'm not even going to look at constantly about this. But, that'll be a no. That'll be a no then. But, I do wonder whether it's a possibility of trying some form of security. It's only one person, just for a month or a couple of months. But it might just give a message. So it doesn't mean to say that you do it all the time, you do it for the next 6 months, but you might do it for a couple of months. Just because then other people wouldn't know when that security person is going to be around for the market. But to introduce it would mean that what I have heard, both from our representatives and from all of you, is not just that this is about trading, this is about community. That Seaford community and what you were saying, Chair, and I think we need to really capture that and also make sure, just as we do in our meetings where we have civility and respect, that we have civility and respect in our town. And we would expect civility and respect when we go into a shop and we talk to shop traders, and in fact quite a lot of shops have, like in the post office or banks, don't shout at people and all this sort of stuff. You haven't got anywhere to hang that sign in the market, but I'm sorry, I actually think somehow or other that civility and respect message needs to be put out for the market, and we just need to address this pretty much head on in terms of our peer acceptance of how we should all be behaving in this town, this lovely town, where most of the time people are very respectful. But unfortunately, I think that hasn't been happening, and if there's any way outside of this meeting, because this is not an amendment or a suggestion in terms of the paper, but just to think about maybe how we can check stock, because the other thing is I work very closely with Lisa and Miranda. And I'm not going to get sexist about this, but these are females who are trying to manage the market. Miranda does the most incredible job having to move people's cars and get people who are a bit bolshy because they don't want to move their car on. I mean, the things that they have to do is just phenomenal, and not things that any of us would probably feel easy to do. And I just think maybe having people, just a person with a jacket on or whatever, wandering around doing that and supporting for a little while might give a message. So I know this would be, there would be a cost incurred here, we don't have a budget line for it, and all those sorts of things. But I'm just throwing it out there as a suggestion. But community policing might be another suggestion, and we wouldn't have to pay for either if we could get them on site.
My suggestion is, I think the policing one is the line you need to go down. Because if you document it, evidence it, repeat it, then that action of intimidation, etc. has to be dealt with. I think the law now is far more protecting of that type of behaviour. I think you have enough stallholders, you have people from the evidence providers that are experiencing this, and it's unacceptable. And the only way to deal with unacceptable behaviour is to report it. Unacceptable behaviour is to report it through the relevant authorities and make sure it's consistent and it's logged, and you build a profile of it, and it's dealt with on that basis. And I think that consistency, and that's the best response for the police. they are very, very positive when you provide that evidence and those repeated concerns, and people are willing to support the document. So I think that is your best way forward. Councillor Marlowe's suggestion is probably another idea, but I think if that comes from all your stakeholders, and every time it occurs, it's written down.
Thank you. Right, is there anyone want to speak who hasn't spoken? Councillor Marlowe.
Yeah, I just want to say I fully support the market. I think it's an asset to the town and agree with what people have said, and the councillors have said. And when I come in on the Saturday, when there's a market, it is noticeable difference how many more people are in the town. And I know people who live outside the town who purposely come on market days. So, and I think it's, you know, it's an asset, and I think, you know, local businesses and the market should work in harmony, because I think you can help each other in business. Yeah, so I fully support it, and I'd like, yes, in 3 years maybe working group can discuss it and have it for longer, you know, say 5 in the future.
Yeah, I'm happy to bring that at the next working group.
Just come back to just rely on being informed by my colleague on Thursday. There is a limitation on the length of time the commission is speaking. Yes, it's limited to 4 years.
Thank you. Right, I'm going to do one more round of questions and then we'll probably stop, and then I will do suspend standing orders in case anyone's behind me. Councillor Preston.
Just a quick point on the moving of cars in the morning. Have some other questions, should be addressing this to you. Has it been explored with getting parking enforcement down by council to do a sweep at that time in the morning or to support, as we do at the Seaford at times?
Can't answer something like that. So they can't always guarantee what kind of different staffing they've got on and whether they can be in the town, and they don't always come to Seaford. They will go to some larger towns. So I think that would be very difficult for them to tie that together. And it is quite difficult for her when she does put that road closure in place to have it from a certain time. People can still park overnight. Because if you need to suspend those parking permits, it's quite difficult to run because it's done on an individual basis. So the workaround is quite hard.
Next, Councillor Truss.
Yes, I just want to remind everybody that this project is a private project and we cannot be asking for public money for private gain. If the market wants to employ a guard, then they should do. But the job of policing the public is the police, not the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rutland.
I will hold up from that because some of you guys want to say anything.
And then Councillor Bassey.
Yeah, it's just on the policing aspect. So I think it'd be useful to kind of go to the police officer and get their advice how to proceed, because I think there's how individuals might feel and what they want to report. I think generally community policing talks about the intimidation or any other kind of policing issues that arise, and it gives them advice that they have access to resources that prove useful.
Right, I am now going to suspend standing orders for questions to ask the members of the street market. So can I have a proposal, please, to suspend standing orders? Councillor Rutland, seconded Councillor Duval. Councillor Duval, would you like to ask your question? Sorry. Oh, sorry, all in favour. There's no answer.
How many stalls do you have? 28 maximum. Obviously, if there are cars parked in the lane, then some of those will need to be suspended, but there isn't anything that we can do about that, as Sharon's already
You've got a licence for 28, and how many of those are taken up?
It depends on the day. Exactly as I read out earlier, if all of a sudden the weather is bad, you could have a whole load of people that will just cancel last minute. Generally speaking, Miranda tries to keep it at full capacity.
And of those, how many are from town businesses?
Well, there is one, as I think you said, that is now retired but has a stall here. I know that Miranda has approached the stores and offered all of them the opportunity to have a stall if they would like to do so.
But there's one.
Yeah, just one currently.
How much are the stalls?
They're £20 for the stall, and if you would like to hire a gazebo, it's an extra £6.50.
And how many times a month do you do it?
Twice. So it's the second and fourth Saturday of the month.
Over how many months?
12. No, it starts is it at the end of February.
Oh, yeah.
February through to December.
That's sometimes in December as well.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else want to ask me questions while I've suspended standing orders? Okay, right, I'm going to reinstate standing orders. Can I have a proposal, please? Councillor Dwyer, seconder. Councillor Warraven, all in favour? Yeah. Thank you. Right. Right, I'm going to take each item individually. So, as officer's recommendation, is number 1 is to note the results of the 2026 consultation exercise. Councillor Rutland, Councillor Bristow, and then all in favour. Thank you. Number 2 is to approve that following on from town-wide consultation processes having been undertaken in both 2025 and 2026, that further such consultations are not now required again until 2029. Can I have a proposal, please? Councillor Warraven, secondly Councillor Markwell, all in favour. Thank you. Number 3 is to grant delegate did you want to make the amendments? No. Yeah, no, that's fine, because of ice, yeah, sorry. Just, I put a note there. Number 3 is to grant delegated authority to the town clerk to devise and issue a licence for Seaford Street Market for the remainder of the 2026-2027 financial year, as well as for the 2027 to 2028 and 2028 to 2029 financial years, subject to satisfactory conclusion of key performance indicators included within the new licence. Can I have a proposal, please? Councillor Rutland, seconder, Councillor Dunn, all in favour. Thank you. And just to say to the members of the public, if you want to look at the survey results, if you just want to see the Town Council website and look up this agenda, all the results are on there.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Did you want to
Yes,
stay?
we'll go if we can.
It was taken out previously.
Yeah. Can I just say thank you very much for all of your support? It's very much appreciated.
Well, you're a big asset to the town and we love you.
Thank you very much. I'll pass on this on to Ryan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. I don't think that's in
We shall work these things. I'm not seen them yesterday. Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Right, we're going to carry on with the agenda. We're going to carry on with the agenda. So we're now back to agenda item number 5. So to present the details of the final income and expenditure position for this committee for the financial year ended 31st of March 2026, an update on earmarked reserve movements for the year.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the opportunity to speak at the report, and I welcome any questions.
Councillor Markwell.
Can I just say that the numbers are all out? Sorry, it's actually number 6.
This is number 6, yeah.
And then the one that we've just done is number 8. So we just need to get the right. That's all.
Okay. Yeah, no, we have the numbers. That's fine. Right, okay, that's observation.
It's observation.
Right. Anyone has any questions on this particular agenda item? Councillor Bristol.
Thanks. I think I say this every year, talking about two places. I think I'm supposed to be the outside body rep, but I've never been to anything. About the swimming pool, we have always this budget of 10 grand and we never spend anything. And the question always is, what is our responsibility and why are we not spending it, or why are we budgeting it if we don't have to spend it? So please enlighten me.
So there is a Seaford Head Swimming Pool Committee. So since I've been involved, Sharon, I've asked the same questions. So I met with the committee, which is made up of Wave Leisure, Seaford Head School, us, and some of the committee, is how this was established. The East Sussex County Council, the upper part of the officer for East Sussex County Council, was unable to provide me with any formal documentation as to how this came into place. It looks like at some point around 2001, 2002 there was some sort of agreement. There's been some further agreements that suggested there was a 3-year term. There is nothing in writing in terms of a formal agreement with them for the contribution. Last year, at the end of the last financial year, they asked us to roll the £10,000 contribution into this year. Because when the meeting took place and everything else that happened, we were unable to do that, so it fell outside the financial year in order to move the £10,000 across. They weren't overly happy because previously that happened in the rollout, and they have a number of projects for this year that they would like us to contribute to. My agreement I have with them is that we will keep the £10,000 in this budget. I'm not aware of them ever producing any information to provide to councillors as an update as to what our £10,000 contributes to. So what has happened is Wave have provided some statistics around usage numbers, members, etc., learn to swim, the swim school, and I will bring a report, I think it's October's ANF for councillors to make a decision on ahead of the budget process as to whether we want to retain that support either wholly in part or we need it potentially into the grant process.
Thanks, Chair. Thank you very much, Cheryl. That is the most comprehensive answer. I appreciate it's not a full answer, but it is the most comprehensive answer I've had since I've become a councillor. So thank you very much. I am a regular user of the pool, and whilst I love the pool, and it's very good that we have a pool in Seaford, I do note, and it's something I say at District a lot, that our pool in terms of facilities, the standards, lags behind other pools in the district quite considerably. If it was up to me, I know instantly some things that I'd spend the money on, not least the ladies' showers, which are only over the dribble. But then I don't go into the men's comparison. So, but seriously, the point I was going to make, apart from thanking you, is could I as an OBR be kept updated and perhaps be invited to some of the meetings? And also, in light of the local government reorganisation and the transfer of assets and all that kind of stuff, just want to try and think about what's happening with the pool in the future, with Wave being kind of quite linked to the district council at the moment and has county councilling, but I know the school's now in academy, and so I'm just thinking about how we as a council might have our stake in not in a changing kind of ownership landscape as well. Because I'm really keen that even if we don't have the best pool in the district, we have a pool.
The other thing I said, which probably didn't include in my response, is worth pointing out the last meeting the academy was pulled out of the agreement, so they were making £500,000 time called for certain times and they felt that it was not appropriate for them to do that anymore. It didn't benefit the school, the lessons, etc. So my understanding is that's what we do.
Councillor Dale.
Yes, thank you, Chair. In relation to page 22, we've got 4275 building maintenance there under the beach huts, but it's also, it comes up as well in another area, 4275, it's a completely different. We've got 4275 on page 24, the same cost centre, and it's mentioned twice with two different figures. Also, as well, which confused me because I'm not quite sure if they should be, if it's one cost centre, shouldn't it be in one place? Forgive me if that's not correct. The other thing is with these cost centres, with this building maintenance, does it include any maintenance of the rental beach huts rather than the concession beach huts? So does that go to the maintenance and upkeep of the toilets that the beach huts, the users use, the rental ones? And does it include the cost of dismantling the rental beach huts? Because the report only mentions the dismantling of the actual concession beach hut that's one now, rather than the actual rental beach huts. Am I making sense? Sorry. I wonder if that includes...
So it's a combined total that goes through there. So if you combine the building maintenance of those bits, it's minus the 4275 is the cost going goes across all of those elements. So included in that budget is the erection and dismantling of the temporary beach huts.
Right, okay, yeah. And includes maintenance of the toilets? Or does that come under something else?
Maintenance of toilets.
Like the emptying and... Well, not maintenance, but the upkeep of having them on the seafront. It would include that as well?
The building maintenance, the toilet hire and the cleaning and pumping out of that is in the toilet hire section, which is the one kind of below.
Oh, right, so in that one rather than in rental. All right, okay, thank you.
Councillor Mark. Thank you, Chair. I'm looking at 4402, page 22, and I just want to ask the questions on blooming. Who is responsible for blooming Seaford? Because I don't feel we're blooming at all.
No.
I think if you're spending £6.5 grand on blooming Seaford, I just want to know what you're spending £6,500 on. I also would like to commend the Chamber of Commerce, who have realised over the last couple of years that we are not blooming, and they are putting in their own money and their own support in making sure that we are blooming, and putting in tiered things that, again, haven't been addressed, even though we were told, having put in these three-tier things. You can notice them there in Broad Street. They've just got soil in them now. Hopefully that will happen very, very soon. It's July. So all of this money, and if we're blooming 2 months of the year, we'll be lucky. So please tell us what on earth is going on, because there are so many lovely opportunities to create this sense of Seaford, walking down the Broad Street, going down the High Street, outside here, whatever, and it just seems to be taking forever. It's a blooming mystery.
Do you want to do the financial side?
You can do the financial side and I'll do the operational side.
So if I take the financial side of it, when we put the budgets together, we built the budgets based on the existing grounds maintenance contract and the money allocated in and what we anticipated that would be. So whilst the cost is in there, it's shared across the whole grounds maintenance kind of process. It was just there purely for budgeting to ensure that we covered all the options. So then in terms of spend and how it's managed?
Yeah, operationally, so our contractor, Verdi, have not done anything. And you note that we are not paying the invoices until they actually do something. So Yes, that is budgeted, but we have not put it in the system because we're consistent.
We'll have a conversation outside of this chamber on the querying of our procurement processes and why we actually procure contractors that don't do the work. Because that's what's coming back to me on a regular basis. And it's very, very good. So,
Thank you, Chair. On the same issue, historically, I'm talking about 10 years ago, there used to be a committee on Seaford and Bloom, a proper committee. That folded because the people on it basically didn't want to continue anymore. So I don't know why is the term Seaford and Bloom still used when it doesn't really exist anyway. So that's one.
It was purely that's the cost scale, the cost scale for consuming as well as selling.
So can that be relooked at for the future? We don't really have to use that term Seaford and Bloom. Because it doesn't really exist because that implies other issues. Doesn't exist.
I'll pass it out.
Okay.
So doesn't exist. Are we able to change the name from Seaford and Bloom to
doesn't exist?
I need to add slightly to that. So various towns across the nation do so and so in Bloom. It is a national scheme that happens across many towns. There's the water meter in Bloom. At the point that the Seaford and Bloom external committee decommissioned closed, it was agreed that the town council would take on Seaford and Bloom to continue the work that had been done. So I think it's from a historical, traditional, civic point of view, that's why the name has been retained, because it has historically been such a big part of it.
Councillor Walker. What Gordon's just said, it used to be a competition within the town, so into the presentations, and we used to for the best hanging basket, best commercial, all the whole different listings of prizes to be won within the town, and the lady who was chair she retired and nobody would take it on. So I don't know what happened to all the trophies, to be honest. That's how Seaford and Bloom used to be.
Councillor Dunn? Oh no, you were first, but you might be closer about the
because it's been here too long, we used to have a different contractor, if I remember, called something Euro or, and I used to think at the time, not from Europe, no, but they did come from, they weren't local. Why did we, because we got the feedback that was changing, why did they go? Why were they not kept on? Because they used to seem to do, if everybody agrees, they were doing, unlike ID Verdi, they seem to be doing a very, very good job. And I can't work out why we got rid of them. That is my question.
So we didn't get rid of them. Their contract ended, and therefore we had to put that out for competitive tender. We did make them aware of this, and we decided not to take it.
Oh, what a shame. They were good.
Right, Councillor Bristow.
It's my opinion, and I hope that it doesn't divide opinion as much as this matter is similar matter that's divided opinion in Eastbourne. Sorry. I remember Seaford and Bloom, and it looked absolutely fantastic. It's been really good for many years, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think perhaps it was during the COVID lockdowns and things that different planting regimes were put in for obviously reasons at the time. But with the increasingly hot climate, heat waves, so on and so forth, obviously at the moment we have the current contract which needs to be fulfilled, but it does make me wonder whether we might need to look at the specification for this aspect and how can we make Seaford look good into the future and survive whatever our summers are throwing at us. And I'm also minded to think about what can we do in terms of helping any plants and hopefully some nice colourful flowers to sustain their displays in the summer. So looking at, for example, rain gardens and sustainable irrigation and that kind of thing. And I do wonder whether this particular aspect might actually really work in the future coming to Gloucester and having a bit of scrutiny under the open spaces side of things, just as the verge cutting and parks practices. I don't know how others feel about that, but I'm just trying to think to the future how we can get best value for money. Councillor Ross?
Okay, got some questions. So offices including the income from the view, but I don't see the percentage of the profits in there. Why is that missing? Oh yeah, go on.
Because the profit share doesn't kick in until December.
Oh, thank you. The public works loan repayment, I've asked several times, and I think Steve was going to come back to me on this, and it didn't happen, or I've missed it. And I asked the question, can we pay it off? What's the saving for the council? And he was going to look into it.
Answer that one. We have looked into that, and there was no financial benefit for the public works.
Thank you. Is there an opportunity to get an analysis of the maintenance officer's work? What does he spend his time on? Going on to...
yes, we have it all recorded. He has a maintenance list that he works his way through, so we can share that.
And Councillor Martin mentioned contracts and fulfilling them or not. I know we talked at the last full council meeting about you producing a list of contracts. But can I also ask that you put in a schedule of review of those contracts rather than rolling each one over all the time, please?
We're talking about
all contracts, buggies, anything. Can it be reviewed? Because at the moment we just pay every month without looking at the contracts, when they've been ended and reviewing them.
On that one, I think every contract that's gone through the millions of self-inclusive benefit. I think, for example, use the mobile phone one, we've terminated all the mobile phone contracts. It's handsets and gone to a SIM-only contract. And in that example, we're paying 470. Our cost has gone down to about 100.
So we could get an analysis.
Yeah.
To see the good work that officers are doing. You know, we can promote that within the public. And in terms of the Lumen contract, is that another contract that they're not fulfilling, you're going to cancel? And if you are going to cancel, is that something we could maybe contribute to the gardening groups in Seaford for them to take it over and pay them instead of the contract? Thank you.
So, they have like our other ground maintenance contracts, they have a 4-month mobilisation period. Which we cannot terminate. If there is significant enough breach of the contract after that 4 months, which I think would be the end of July, then we could, if it hits it, it has to be major breach of the contract. If that were to happen, I believe we would probably have to go out for a competitive tender again. If somebody wanted to bid for it from the local garden group, they would be able to, but I believe because of the value of the contract, we have to go to
it. Sorry, everyone.
Any further questions? Because I'm minded to go through officers' recommendations. Right, so officers' recommendations to one, actually, so we'll just wait a second. Right, officers' recommendations. One is to note the contents of the reports. Can I have a proposal, please? Councillor Matthews, Councillor Bristow, and then all in favour. Thank you. Number two, to note the earmarked reserve transfers that were presented to full council on the 25th of June 2026 as set out in Appendix D, which we have been given as a piece of paper because it wasn't with this agenda. Yeah, apparently you saw it on the meeting of the 25th of June. So it wasn't in this agenda item. It wasn't in this pack.
No, that's I raised those questions and I didn't see it, so that's all right. Not my mistake, thank you.
So the proposers, Councillor Walraven, and the seconder, Councillor Matthews, and then all in favour, because you would have already seen this. Thank you, and the AGOS signed off. Next agenda. Next agenda item is, and the purpose of the report is to present details of the income and expenditure position for this committee for the period 1st of April to 31st of May 2026.
Thank you, Chair. The report is as is. If anyone has any questions, more than welcome.
Any questions? Councillor Walraven.
Just one, page 39, CCTV. We seem to spend about half of the I couldn't see anything in the appendix referring to 4276.
I think it's not a variation because it's not a variation to the total budget. Sharon probably give some specifics on something. But she has put up transpired. I think it's not reported as a variation because it's... That's fine. So Councillor Walraven, maintenance that you it's not in that section.
Councillor Mark.
Thank you, Chair. Just a slight confusion. So on page 39, seated room, 4402, indirect expenditure 9,840. And previously, it was the actual year. So why is there a difference for the? I'm sorry, maybe I'm being a bit slow. Indirect expenditure actual year is 36,287.
One was the year-end position in the previous report.
Yeah.
And this is year to date.
I see. So we've already spent £6,000 then on the
So if you go to page 39, Seaford in blue, there was no actual year to date.
Oh, I see what you mean. But we allocated less this year to Seaford in blue than we did last year then?
So that would be the tender process, we went through the tender process and that would be price quoted. So
No further questions, then we are asked to note the content of the report. Can I have a proposal, please? Councillor Bristow and a seconder, Councillor Matthews, and then all in favour. Right, so we are then on to the next agenda item, which is on page 57, and the purpose of the report is to update the committee on the progress of the signage audit and subsequent programmes of improvement.
I have nothing further to add to the report, but I welcome the questions.
Councillor Dunn?
Yeah, well, it's just silly really, but page 58 where it mentioned at 3.1 officers have looked at other examples, including you give a list. Eastbourne, about 18 months ago, 2 years ago, did look at all their signage, changed it. It's very nice. Very, it's wooden. It's probably not wooden, it's probably like PVC or something, but it's really smart. And it's sort of in keeping, sort of more, it's more natural looking rather than very plastic. So where you've looked around, could you just have a nose at Eastbourne? I just think that might be worth looking into.
Absolutely, I can go.
Alright, thank you.
Councillor Truss.
Thank you. Given this is the face of Seaford and the messaging that's going to be placed throughout, I would like to suggest that the findings, you know, if we're going to plot where these signs are going, what kind of signs they are, come back to this committee for approval prior to purchase, please.
If I suppose that would be an amendment. Yeah, because they went to die, so we need to be ready. We can't do it.
Not to that extreme, so it has to be a petition paper.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. It would possibly have an effect on strategic plan, dates.
Where's the next facility?
I think as well we'll have to think about the logistics of that task in a public meeting, you know, in a room of 10 councillors. If we're talking about plotting all signage across all sites and looking at the signage reviews, that
We've already done that though.
yeah, but I think in this sort of forum, that's not particularly easily achieved when we're understanding orders. It's a public meeting. I think maybe we need to take that away and have a conversation offline about the best way to approach that piece of work. You know, how we open it up so councillors can get involved. It may be that the ultimate decision being made comes back through committee. But I think the actual brainstorming, throwing ideas around, also have to
Also, the budget's been added within the strategic plan anyway, so it's been signed off for the region.
Well, no, I'm not disputing the budget. I'm questioning whether the signage that we choose is the signage that we as councils think our town wants to use with the messaging as well. And I just think we ought to have a say in that.
We'll have a discussion on this.
Sorry, Councillor Matthews.
Yeah. So page 59 is a 3.2D. Repeating now what's up before, but there's space for warnings of prohibited activities of lift safety. I do think that needs to be looked at in foreign languages, so Southeast Asian, Mandarin. We get a lot of visitors from Southeast Asia, and we need to make sure that they are aware of this as well, because there's not selfies being taken up on lifts.
So we follow the guidance from the statistical necessity, which is to use pictorial signs.
Yeah.
General guidance is to adequately cover all markets and languages and we cover the cities, so therefore the pictorial is much more effective as the from those statistical necessities.
I think just talking about the route that people would come off the train probably maybe walk down the corner. Even if there's one side at the beginning of the cliffs, that might be useful as well as to coexist with this pictorial signage.
So for the cliff safety, there is cliff safety sign is designed East Sussex, which are pretty in places. The city is one of them that's okay. I know there's a lot in the article.
Councillor Markham.
Trying to remember what I was going to say now. Got a bit delayed by the pictorial sign.
Oh yes, I know. Thank you, Chair. Actually, just going on to that, if I could just respond briefly. I don't know if you were thinking about maybe QR codes and things. I mean, anybody that goes, everybody has mobile phones these days and they can translate signs. So there may be, I don't know whether you can use a QR code, but they look at it and then, but, you know, because people use their phones to translate things, don't they?
So I know the National Park Authority, when they do it, they have a link to Google Translate. So it takes you to Google Translate, you take you can hold it up.
So that was kind of responding to the councillor. But yeah, what I was going to say was actually in terms of the tone of the signage, the language use and things. I do think this discussion could come up in the strategy review of the strategy group anyway, because we have got this something, what should we call it, a strap line. There is a strap line. There's a strap line about Seaford Town Council that goes out on every single application form. The strap line can be what it is, but it's
What's the motto?
but whatever it is, we could, in terms of the fact that as a strategic planning group, they could be looking at whether that actually is saying what we're trying to manage through strategic plan, because that's our work. So it may be something we could look there at the start. So I do think there is something about the tone and the visual. I'm not sure how you do it, but we have had informal group sessions discussing things across councils before, which I hope if we could organise it over the summer or something, just wouldn't delay this whole signage thing, but at least would give us an option for making a contribution. I think this is about engagement, and it certainly would not be, I don't feel it's appropriate just to take a blindly back to a committee, because you'll end up with all that angst and worry into committee, so you might as well resolve it in an informal meeting and get people's point of view. We've done that with so many other things this year, and it's worked really successfully. So I hope we can just put something in.
Councillor Bristow, you said.
Do you want to just move on? And really, thank you. So I didn't
Councillor Bristow. Thanks, Chair. I'm delighted that this is moving forward, especially because in the Seaford now Watts Local Nature Reserve and National Nature Reserve Group, we've been discussing signage for quite some time, currently with other organisations and in the National Nature Reserve, and of course it's such an important issue along our seafront, so I'm really glad to see in 2.4 those two areas being prioritised. I think what's in the report is fantastic. As things develop, I'd just like to see that bit about sort of key messaging and that pride in Seaford coming into it, and sort of stop us having I like this one better because it's that colour and that font and that colour and that font or what have you. There's, as I understand, quite a lot of behaviour change science around signage and around how to actually get people to do what you want them to do and take notice of it. And I think other councillors and officers have already said about QR codes and having things that are translatable as well. So yeah, pictorial, fantastic, but if they want something, I know last year we were talking about a page on our website about the seafront and having a QR code that visitors could scan and then translate if necessary, because it wasn't just about where do we put the rubbish, it was what else can I visit in Seaford, and why isn't Seaford built up like Brighton and Eastbourne? What's the history of the town? You know, all sorts of questions were coming up. I'd like to ask whether the tourism and visitors consultant that we approved the spend for before will have any input into this. Does it cross over at all in terms of time scale and what their remit is? And just a small, but I think quite important note, which did come up last year in some of the committees, Oscar, I'm listening, is that the Inshore Fisheries Conservation Authority were very keen to have some messaging along the seafront if they possibly could. So if the signage is being refreshed, because there are there's new guidance and laws about things like recreational fishing, hand gathering of shellfish, all that kind of stuff, then it would be great to be able to include them as well to make sure that we're as environmentally compliant as we can.
Yeah, on the fisheries stuff, we can definitely say that. I think the seafront is one of the challenging sites we're looking at, because there are almost infinite amount of signs we could put up there, and we do need to be careful that one of the main points of this was about amalgamation and reducing the size of the field, and absolutely have to one of your questions.
It was about the tourism and visitor consultant.
Sorry, this we're meant to be starting with the design process this month. And we have a beginning sites going out this summer, but we advertising consents required. And the consultants will seriously go out to tender, and they're meant to be taking the board back in April 2028, I think is that one. So they're not designed.
Anyone else would speak who hasn't spoken?
Thank you. So the signage include finger posts as well?
We're not currently looking at finger posts now. Most of the finger posts are the responsibility of the Sussex County Council.
I've often suggested that there is a sign in the bottom of Burnham Road on the seafront saying there's shops. And there's nothing to tell visitors that there is these other shops, because if
The purposes of this was not to look at that. However, I can speak to those districts. I think that would have been those districts.
Right, Councillor Tabas and then Councillor Markway, then I'm going to wrap this item.
When I mentioned about signs coming back to the council, I didn't mean, I should have actually added, except for 3.2D, where the safety signs and they're going to be pictures. You should absolutely be getting on with those without further approval.
So they would be amalgamated within the new signs. So we already have a lot of safety signs in existence, so they're already there on site. This is about, instead of having lots of signs dotted all over the place, being important. So we wouldn't be putting new signs out until most of the signs are in place.
Councillor Markway.
Yeah, sorry, just a reassurance from you. That I know you're working really closely with the Chamber of Commerce and Charles on tourist trail signage and other things that are going on, historic trails and things. Can you just start to think about that when we're thinking about signage and the look of things, and encouraging, whatever ideas are starting to develop, that we have some sort of consistency going forward. We don't have anything at the moment to realise that, but going forward I think it will be important that we all unveil somehow. Hopefully make something different, because that would be unfortunate. I know you're working with that.
Yeah, we're working very closely on that project, and they're doing this they have got any design we can get some projects in. We are working on heritage projects in the future.
Thank you. I'm going to move to the officer's recommendations now, which is to note the contents of the report.
I'd like to note one things.
And we thought we had because at the moment the motion is just to note, depending on what you're proposing to amend, it would if it's to do with bringing it back, that's a completely new motion, not an amendment to an amendment.
Well, the thing is, if you look at 3.5 and 3.6, there's no bit in between, because it's saying once the new signs are installed at 3.6, there's nothing to say officers will arrange for the installation of the signs. So so if I approve this, I'm approving that officers are going to install the signs, am I saying that?
I think what I would add is, obviously we've had discussions in the meeting and we've confirmed that we'll take this away and, essentially I assume we'll talk about the process that we propose, discuss that with councillors, look at how we can make this work. It doesn't always have to be tied in a motion. This is a public meeting, we've had the discussion, there'll be noting of content, we'll take that away and we'll do what we said.
Right, so we are asked to note the contents of the reports. Proposed by Councillor Bristow and seconded by Councillor Markwell. All in favour? Right, next agenda item on page 16. I'm not saying the numbers in case myself to get myself into a muddle. As the numbers are slightly. So the purpose of this report is to review the current management and financial arrangements for the Seaford Town Council owns Martella beach huts regarding their future management and or potential disposal by sale. Mr. Cousins.
As before, nothing to add to this report, but I don't have any questions.
Councillor Markwell.
Thank you. I just want to say, I've never got round to renting one. Councillor, you've rented one recently, haven't you?
Yeah,
This is not that. This is the permanent beach.
that's at the moment. Yeah, what is he like to rent a beach hut? Oh, sorry.
Sorry. There are issues around retaining and thinking about selling beach huts. So just want to perhaps you can clarify just a little bit further for me. Will we in the future, even if we get rid of these beach huts, always have beach huts to rent per year? Will we always retain some for that position, or will we eventually not own any of them and we'll be putting them out to? Is that a long term?
The Westview beach huts are still in the plans and we still continue to put them out until cases to this. And it is a report coming in the summer.
Okay, great.
Councillor Rowland.
I still feel that we should retain some beach huts because not everybody can afford to buy one outright. So I feel we should still retain some. I know local people who rent out beach huts, so yeah, it's my opinion.
So just, I think, I'll just add some clarity. So these are specifically the Martella beaches, which is this is, as far as we're concerned, we're continuing the Westview beach hut, which is the shorter term beach hut, that's continuing the second.
Councillor Glass. Oh, you didn't have the first one.
Okay, so I completely concur with Councillor Rowland, and I think it is rather elitist to be able to afford £30 plus pay for a beach hut. I think the 9 that we offer to the public is great, and I think we should continue to do that. I think we should replace the doors from fiberglass to UPVC, and I don't know why you think you can't get coloured UPVC, because I can buy coloured UPVC doors, so I don't know why you can't. I think we should move to an annual renewal rather than 3 years. I've looked at the spreadsheet and I've just quickly changed it myself and trebled the staffing costs for it to allow for an annual renewal. And if you just add £600 a year, you still get a healthy return on that, and it gives more people opportunities to rent it. And I know that you close the waiting list for beach huts, and that's why I think we should change it from 3 years to 1 year, and I will be putting an amendment forward to that effect. And everyone's had a chance to see this.
The only thing I'd add is I don't believe we have closed the waiting list for beach huts.
Councillor Brisbane.
Can I just ask, sorry if I've missed this, how long is the waiting list in terms of how many people are on it? Is it 3 times the number of beach huts that we have over 5 years, or 10 times it, or what's the level of interest?
It has been quite big previously. We are noticing as we go through that list, this last time we removed the huts, that a lot of people were very quick to come back to us to tell us that they were no longer interested, which is unusual in the years gone by. Those beach huts have been taken up on the first offer. And then we work our way from securing the offers of what beach huts we have available through to people still want to stay on this every year. So that it's fresh. But I would have to come back and confirm exactly how many people are on that list. And it is only for Seaford residents, and it is for 3 years the licence, just to confirm some more information. And it is over £1,000 for each year, which maybe is why we are running through the list a bit quicker this last year.
Thanks, that's really informative and quite illuminating. And I think, you know, we are still in a cost of living crisis, which is only deepening. And arguably, the people at the very sharp end of that, for them, is completely out of it. But I do think that, yes, whilst financially I can see that selling them off probably does make sense for the town council if we're just thinking about our own budgets, in terms of providing a facility to Seaford and Seafordians. I was also wondering about sort of making it a shorter time period, perhaps not so much as the ones in the summer, but people do use them in the winter increasingly, and perhaps going for that 1 year rather than 3 years would actually make it more accessible, and then perhaps give that a trial period. So we've got basically April next year 5, so whether it would be, I mean, Councillor DeVas has alluded to putting forward an amendment to move them all to be 1 year, whether we do that or a hybrid of sell half of them off and keep half of them and go for a 1 year term. I don't know what officers would think about the workability of that. But I do feel that it's fantastic for them to be able to offer people the facility of a beach hut, and not just through the summer but also further down at that end, which is quite popular.
Just to come back, so obviously within the report it details the sequence in which they fall out.
Yeah.
So you've got 5, 3, 1, and then lifeguard 1, which for the purpose of the report we added in as the last one.
Yeah.
So if that amendment comes forward, then there's a possibility that we could be the first 5 next year. And then that would give us an indication on the usage and the uptake of it. George has just shown me the list of 52 names on it. However, looking at the list, some of those people registered a very long time ago, sort of anywhere between 5 to 7 years ago. So maybe a bit more they're being updated and respected as a reference that there was still a little bit of interest in them.
Yeah, thank you. I was a bit torn by this. Eastbourne never ever sells any beach house. They own all and rent all. Different levels, from Holywell, very expensive, down to more local. You know, looking at the paperwork, thank you for the officers giving a lot of detail. It did look like a lot of outlay for such a small return, but then when I looked across on page 66, you know, if you look at the net profit, 20, 30, 31, you've got 3,000, and then you look at it for if you sell, you've got 5,000, big difference. So I was really into your mind about selling, but we just keep selling. I mean, I know sometimes we can't help it, but we are here to offer a service. We're not all about selling off our finery. And my longing is to own a beach hut outright for me, but unfortunately that is well out of my budget, and husband thinks they're glorified sheds that you put at the bottom of your garden, so coloured. So, you know, there's different views on them, but there are many people that just could never afford to buy a beach hut, so I think I'm still a bit on the feet.
Councillor Mark, anyone else want to speak who hasn't spoken? Councillor Mark.
Thank you, Chair. Just a point of clarification, on the £1,000 per year rental, is that something you want total cost for, or do you offer it month by month payment? Because that might also help, just thinking about people who may still want to do that, but will find it more difficult to pay on the £1,000. They can still sign the contract, but they pay month by month. I don't know, I was just thinking, I was just trying to make it more accessible. No,
all I would say is, on the 3-year term they currently have some beach huts who have that licence who we run out to pay so we went to agreement to do that. So there are some issues.
Just an observation that in more seasonal businesses with direct debits, there's always a risk that people pay direct debits until September time,
yeah,
and then cease to pay it. I can't say the same, but there's in similar businesses there's
or unless you just chunk it out for those 4 months as opposed to doing it as a bounty. So I don't know, I was just trying to make it a little bit more accessible to people.
Just in response to that, offers the time for direct debit because there's management finance, and then the risk of defaulting, which is accessing the beach hut again is, I think, probably from the officer point of view, not be right for the time to do that.
I think I would prefer that we actually kept the huts and we could use them rather than sell them. Sorry.
I want to propose, well, I don't know if it would just be an amendment, it would, subject to the vote on 2B, would we propose it now, or would we have to wait to see if 2B is rejected to propose it? It's not so.
Can I just take Councillor Matthew's question, in case it's a question before we start going on to the amendment?
Thank you, because actually I've got my questions. It's on 2B. I think I share lots of my concerns really about selling off the beach huts. I'm also concerned with a bit of a state of disrepair and whether they're actually fit for resettlement as well. I don't think we should be using anything, so that's substantive equipment. But 2B, because it still feels like quite a big decision, yes. So recommend a full council proposal. When would it go to the council? So it feels like it would be the way of discussion if it was sale anyway.
I think just to clarify from you, Chair, with motion 2, what we'd be needing from the room is a councillor to propose either A or B to be voted on. If any councillor wanted to make an amendment before proposing A or B, they could do so. If we were looking to take forward 2B, the recommendation to full council, I'm not sure we'd have time to turn that round for July full council because those papers are being finalised over the coming weeks. I think probably would be able to do that.
I'll make an amendment.
Sorry, can I just finish off Councillor Matthew's question and then we will sort out
I just wonder whether it feels like, I mean, Seaford is the beach, isn't it? It feels like maybe we need to start doing this most of the gut feeling. Also, I don't know the town substandard beach out, so quite a lot of things.
Okay, any further questions just on
I'm just added that if the decision is to retain the beach huts, we will start spending we have budget set aside to make those repairs. I just think that obviously it's very prudent before we spend that much money, just to check whether we want to do it.
Right, now we can go into amendments, proposal amendment. I think Councillor Dwell's first.
So I want to propose we retain the beach huts, renewing the licence to be an annual charge and increase the price to £1,400 a year. Or, no, I'll change that, and increase the price to a local officers fees or in line with inflation, or I'd like to see it at 1,400, but
From memory, just to respond, I think it's for some reason in my head 1,160. Just around that. I need to check the fees and charges. Yeah. Obviously, when we go through the budget process, you have the chance to approve these fees are included in that process. Yeah, for the next.
all right, so we don't want to mention that.
No, because you would have that approval process as part of the budget.
Okay, well I'd like to just say then that retain the beach huts with an annual licence from 2027 onwards, with a view to reviewing that in 2028 if it's successful.
Just a slight amendment on what Councillor can't do that, okay. Right.
Can't amend an amendment.
You can. My slight amendment is after 1 year, does the person who rents it has another option to continue for another year?
In that case, I accept your
Or do we have an option to obviously
to renew? No. No, you can't renew it because I want, to do people on the list.
Yeah,
I want to give as many residents the opportunity. And I didn't even think about putting bids out, but I don't think that's fair because only rich people will have them on. So, yeah.
No, I'm happy we'll just do it year by year.
Yeah, and you can't rent it, you have to go on the back of the list.
Okay.
Every year.
George, do you have that down?
Yes, so I think the proposal is to retain the beach huts, offering an annual licence from 2027 onwards with a view to reviewing that in 2028, and that licence holders cannot renew the licence after the year.
But we can go on the bottom of the list.
How about cannot automatically renew the licence?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, because otherwise it's incumbent.
Yeah.
Do it again and again.
Yeah.
Yes.
They can go on.
Okay, now
Yes, please.
Councillor Walraven, are you still seconding Councillor
Yeah.
Dwell? Yes. And then, right, so yeah, we're going to do another vote. So we're going to vote on the amendment. Do we need this read out again? No. So, actually, can we go back a step first? We need to do can we do number one first, just so I can keep this tidy.
Yeah.
So number one is to note the contents of the report. Can I have okay? Well, I just thought otherwise we're going to forget to do something. Yeah. And then and then the three of you second it as well. You voted what I've been voted all together at the same time. So Councillor Duasu proposed, and then Councillor Dunn seconded. Right, and then all in favour. Thank you. Okay, I don't want to get myself. I need order. Right, then we go on to number two. So to consider whether to A, retain the beach huts with the amendment. And the proposer is Councillor Develop, and the second is Councillor Walraven. All in favour. Thank you. Right, then we go to vote. Then we're going to vote on the amended motion. Councillor DeBarrett is proposing and Councillor Walraven is seconding. All in favour. Thank you. Right.
So that's it?
Okay, address it. Right. Right. Sorry, Councillor Bristow. I need to, sorry, before we do a comfort break, I need to follow the procedures. So we need to do exclusion of the press and the public. The Chair will move that in accordance with the public body's admission to meetings Act 1960, the press and public be excluded from the meeting during the discussion on the next items of business for the reasons as set out below. The resolutions of the items will be reported publicly in the minutes of this meeting. If everyone's happy, I won't read the rest of it out because we will have it in front of this meeting. So can I have a proposal, please? Councillor Bristow and the second then Councillor Dunn, all in favour. Thank you. And I suggest we now have a 5-minute comfort break.